Robert Sugden and Aaron Dingle questioned several villagers as they continued their hunt for the person responsible, but their suspicions repeatedly landed on the wrong people. The truth was that Ross Barton and Sam Dingle had been behaving oddly because Ross was secretly giving Sam dance lessons. That revelation certainly came as a surprise. Kev Townsend was eventually ruled out after details emerged about his latest spell behind bars, while Cami Hadik's nervous reactions whenever the barn blazes were discussed stemmed from the fact that he had been staying inside one of the buildings. However, it soon became clear that Kyle was the one playing with fire, and his dangerous fascination with matches was far from over. After Cain refuses an opportunity to spend time with him, Kyle begins to fear that his father no longer enjoys his company. Those concerns deepen when he overhears Cain complaining to Cami that his son skipped school because he was too busy concentrating on repairing a car. Soon afterwards, a lighter slips from Kyle's bag, leaving him tempted to use it once more. Later on, Graham Foster notices smoke in the distance and rushes over, only to discover Kyle standing nearby as a Golf goes up in flames. After getting the youngster away from danger, Graham realizes he has found the person behind the fires. The discovery leaves him furious, while memories of his own traumatic experiences involving fire come flooding back. Kyle then admits that his behaviour is connected to the difficulties he has been facing and the turmoil within his family. When Robert appears on the scene, Kyle quickly climbs into Graham's vehicle to avoid being seen. Later, Kyle speaks honestly about what has driven him to act this way. Graham listens carefully and offers support, but insists that Kyle must eventually tell Cain and Moira Dingle the truth. Discussing Graham's decision to help, Andrew Scarborough explained that it comes from recognizing a sense of vulnerability and feeling lost. He said, Graham's history is filled with hardship and painful experiences, including periods when he turned to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Because of this, he understands Kyle's struggles and views him as a young person who has lost direction rather than someone beyond redemption. Andrew added that Graham could have made an excellent mentor under different circumstances. Despite his own mistakes, he still possesses qualities that make people trust him, and he is trying to provide Kyle with the guidance he never had. He also noted Graham's deep respect for Cain. The emotional distance Cain has created between himself and his son could prove costly, especially as Graham takes a greater interest in helping Kyle rebuild his life by enrolling him in the cadets. The question remains, how will Cain react if he discovers what has been happening? Andrew went on to explain that Graham is constantly grieving the family life he once hoped for, but ultimately lost. The character's appearance reflects that emotional burden, with his red tie serving as a personal reminder of the hardships he has endured. His strict routine and preference for identical suits are also linked to the ways he manages his mental health struggles. He revealed that Graham owns numerous versions of the same suit and dresses formally because of the nature of his work. Returning to the village has also allowed him to step back into the role of a problem solver, particularly for Joe, which reflects his ongoing desire for connection and belonging. According to Andrew, Graham is drawn back to the Tates because, despite their many problems, they still represent a family unit. He feels compelled to help those around him, especially Leo, with whom he previously shared a close bond. At his core, Graham is searching for the sense of family he has always longed for. A shocking new demand from Dr. Todd is set to leave Charity Dingle facing an impossible choice in Emmerdale, with Sarah Sugden potentially suffering the consequences. Charity remains trapped in Todd's blackmail scheme as the manipulative doctor continues to use a long-hidden family secret against her. He is threatening to expose the truth surrounding Sarah and Jacob's child unless he receives a huge sum of money. Although Charity carried the baby as a surrogate, many residents are unaware that she and Ross are actually the child's biological parents, following a brief past encounter. Todd has discovered the secret and is using it to his advantage, insisting that Charity hand over £100,000 or risk everything being exposed. Desperate to protect her family, she has been scrambling to find the money. Charity had hoped a business arrangement involving the Woolpack would provide a solution, but her plans are thrown into chaos when Kim Tate withdraws from the deal next week. Left with few options, Charity decides to join forces with Chas and considers stealing from Kim in order to raise the cash. In scenes airing next Friday, Charity manages to gather part of the money and offers it to Todd as an initial payment. However, he refuses to back down and warns that he will reveal the explosive secret during Sarah's 21st birthday celebration if the remaining balance is not delivered by the following day. Knowing exactly what Todd is capable of, Charity fears he intends to carry out his threat. With time running out, she is left desperately searching for a way to stop the truth from coming out. An Emmerdale insider revealed, Todd is determined to make Charity suffer, and exposing the baby secret in front of everyone would be one of the most devastating things he could do. Sarah would be left completely embarrassed by such a public revelation, while Todd would also take pleasure in causing further trouble for Jacob. The big question is whether he will go through with his threat, or if Charity can somehow find the £100,000 needed to keep him quiet. Another blaze is set to cause chaos in Emmerdale, prompting Graham Foster to step in, but the outcome is far from what anyone expected. The string of fires has puzzled villagers for weeks. Initially, many believed the incidents were the work of someone targeting Moira, but when it became obvious she wasn't the intended victim, the mystery only deepened. The question remained, why keep setting the barns on fire? Several theories have circulated about the culprit's identity. Cami Hadid quickly found himself under suspicion after acting strangely and being spotted carrying a petrol can. Struggling with the upheaval in his life, and frustrated by the loss of stability at home, Kyle has been acting out in dangerous ways. What started as anger and resentment has developed into an unhealthy fascination with fire. Meanwhile, Cain Dingle is dealing with his own problems, and his inconsistent approach to parenting is having a significant impact on his son. When Cain turns down an opportunity to spend time with Kyle, the youngster is left hurt and increasingly convinced that he is being pushed aside. The situation worsens when Cain becomes annoyed after discovering Kyle has skipped school. Complaining to Cami, he criticizes his son's obsession with repairing the Golf, a project they had been working on together. For Kyle, those comments are devastating. He believed the restoration work had strengthened the bond between him and his father. Feeling rejected, he channels his frustration into destructive behaviour, with the Golf ultimately becoming his latest target. Before long, the smoke attracts attention, and other villagers begin heading towards the scene. Desperate to avoid being exposed, Kyle is forced into hiding. If Graham chooses to keep Kyle's secret, it could mark the beginning of a much larger storyline, centered on the teenager's growing obsession with fire. The big question now is whether Cain will uncover what his son has been doing and realize that his own actions may have contributed to the situation. Emmerdale is shown every weekday at 8 p.m. on ITV1. Viewers can also catch each episode from 7 a.m. via ITVX or watch online through YouTube.